Good afternoon, viewers. This is Dr. Ashok Kumar, Assistant Professor in Marketing and Strategy area. And in today's session, we are going to have a thorough discussion on a very interesting topic, evaluation of Salesforce and monitoring, which is part of your MMPM02, Block 3 and Unit 10. And in the next 1 hour, I will be dealing with all the various aspects that really evaluation of Salesforce and monitoring to try to understand why the Salesforce need to be really evaluated and what are the methods that are really practiced by organizations and whether there is really a proper kind of a method that is available to the organization to evaluate the performance of salesperson or not. And if they do it, how successful are they? And what are the kind of key takeaways for the salespeople who are going to be evaluated by the entire management or the entire company people? And more importantly, we are also trying to throw light on the monitoring aspect of it. What are the parameters that are being fixed by the organizations to really try to evaluate or monitor the performance of the salesperson? Now let us understand why there should be a kind of evaluation of Salesforce. Can't we simply tell our own salespeople go do it? This is my product, this is my territory, and this is my company that you are working for. Your job is to go and arbitrarily keep on selling in the market. That is fine. But probably you are trying to drag yourself back to the prehistoric days where there was no numbers, there was no rules, there was no targets, there was no kind of volume and all. People are simply trying to be leading a very carefree kind of a life. Now, in 20th century, particularly in 2023 and now onwards, if you feel that the salespeople will not be evaluated, then you are living in a kind of fool's paradise. You are going to be evaluating your own people because of the very simple reason that you are going to make them accountable. You are trying to find out where exactly they lack, what can be the methods that can really be adopted by the companies so that the performance of your own salespeople really goes up one notch above. And why do we want to do it? You want to do it purely because of the fact that you are going to be escalating your own sales figure and you are also trying to be improving the performance of your own salespeople, which is going to be boosting their confidence and they're boosting their own confidence. If you work in a company where you are understanding that, well, you don't really operate with the confidence or you really don't make yourself accountable for the performance or non-performance of your own even, then you are not simply trying to be giving your best because there is no demand from any source. There is no kind of expectations being raised about you. Probably the company is trying to underestimate you as an individual, as a professional, and of course as a thorough kind of professional who is supposed to deliver his best. So let us understand what exactly Salesforce evaluation and Salesforce monitoring is. I think sales organization has got a loop closure between planning and control. That planning and control is the two extreme of the entire sales activity, and your evaluation and monitoring comes in between it. What exactly does that really mean? You are planning for your territories, you are planning for your products, you are planning for fitting the right product with the right territory, with the right kind of a salesperson, and that is what you are going to be really executing in the field. So when you're trying to execute things in the field, you are also trying to understand whether you yourself have taken the right decision to appoint salesperson A in territory B with product set C to F maybe. So you are not really trying to evaluate the Salesforce only, you are also trying to be judgmental about how effective you have been in allocating the right salesperson in the right territory with the right set of products. So it's going to be a two-way street where you are trying to evaluate the person who is in control of the product and services that you are supposed to deliver or you are supposed to offer to your customers. And you are also trying to be evaluating your own power to judge people and judge the efficiency of people. I think more often than not, your Salesforce evaluation is more oriented towards trying to evaluate your own thinking regarding how well you have really understood or studied your own your own salespeople, and whether you have really done the right thing in giving the right person in the right place and with the right set of products or services, like I told you. So, what is the importance of building an effective sales control system for managing salespeople? I think this really requires no explanation because you have got to really have a sales control system. When I say control, that doesn't necessarily mean that when everything is lost or everything is finished, then you are trying to take stock and trying to control things. No, you can really try to take control much prior to things really happening. So you can really be kind of proactive in taking your control mechanism down the throat of the salesperson, or you can be reactive in trying to be controlling things which has already happened. I think the most smart organizations, what they do is they try to take the fast route. What they do is they are going to be planning it out. Look, these are the things that need to be done. There is probably going to be as scope for this kind of deviations that really possibly can happen. And if this deviation happens, then what are the kind of corrective steps that I could really be taking, or preemptive steps that I could be taking much before the event can really happen. So you have to control either by preemptive methods, by becoming proactive, or if you're not so smart an organization, you can go for the traditional old-fashioned way of trying to control things, trying to go in a reactive kind of a way. So whatever may be your strengths of doing things or your style of doing things, end of the day, you are going to be ending up with controlling your sales function. So let us understand what exactly are the different types of sales control systems are there really being practiced by organizations. It can be probably broken down to two broad categories, like it can be outcome based or it can be activities based. You might be wondering, is there any kind of difference between activity and outcome? You might be contemplating this. Well, if your activities are really synchronized, then the outcome is obviously going to come. It's come the way. But the fact is, sometimes your activities, or so to say, your processes are so well documented, are so well kind of synchronized, or so well kind of orchestrated, better say, that it is going to be automatically leading towards outcomes. But there might be exceptions. Your processes has been extremely, kind of a proven kind of processes, but you are falling short of achieving your desired outcomes. The result may be the intervention of extraneous factors, or kind of external things, as they say it in the world of management, where you have never really anticipated for that. For example, in your recent memory, you never could really anticipate that there will be coming a situation like COVID-19, where the entire world is going to be coming to a grinding halt. And all your processes, all your activities, all your so-called flow charts and kind of diagrams and all might just come to a jolting stop. What does that really mean? Your processes has been good, that has been a proven process, but is it really going to be delivering outcomes? No, because of, like I told you, minutes back, because of the intervention of extraneous factors, which is absolutely beyond your control. So you have got to be really careful about the emergence of extraneous factors from nowhere and trying to completely take you off the field or off the mark, and not really get you achieve what you are supposed to achieve, because you have so religiously, so sacrosanctly followed that particular kind of a process or particular kind of an activities. Okay, so sales control primarily can be really done in two ways. Either you are going to go for that outcome orientation, or you are going to be going for activities orientation. Sometimes, if the activities are good enough, they might be really resulting in exceptional outcomes. But I have never really come across a scenario where the outcomes were never really a real genuine outcome of a very stringent and proven kind of a activity process. If your processes are good, there is more chance that your outcomes are going to be even better. But the reverse may not be always true. Let's understand the importance of understanding salesperson and customer characteristics. When you're trying to evaluate a salesperson, you might be really evaluating him on the two parameters like I already discussed with you, either on outcome, what he's really going to be bringing at the end of the day to your table, or he has simply religiously practiced the processes or practiced the activities but doesn't really come back with results. Well, if a person is so religiously following a particular way of doing things, he may not get the result today, he may not get the result tomorrow, but if he is consistently persisting with the same kind of activities which he feel has really the potential to deliver results, he might succeed in day number 3 or day number 10 or day number 29. The fact is, you have got to have complete thorough faith on the ability of the salesperson to deliver the results. That's why I say you have got to understand the importance of the salesperson and the importance of the customer characteristics. what kind of customer the salesperson is dealing with. Is he more inclined to deal with pretty easy and kind of unquestioning kind of customers, or he's really dealing with more kind of naysayers and customers who are more prone to be lethargic in their responses, or customers who are absolutely indifferent to your production services, to your company and all? Is he, in one single sentence, is he really going to be dealing with easy customers, or is going to be dealing with difficult customers? If he is going to be dealing with more difficult customers or more challenging customers, then his evaluation should not be really treated at par with a salesperson who is really dealing with relatively easy kind of a kind of a territory or easy kind of a group of people. So whether you like it or not, the fact is the salesperson who has got that never say die kind of an attitude, or the kind of person who is absolutely resilient enough to really withstand any kind of negativity coming from the customer side, is probably going to be coming out pretty successful, whether he has really performed the activities right or he has not performed the activities right. Whatever maybe the process is, his outcome is going to be assured because he has understood the pulse of the customer. That is more important. I think when I talk about customer characteristics, I should not really forget to mention the importance of each customer is going to be offering you a divergent kind of a challenge, a divergent kind of dice towards you. So you can't really go and adopt the same kind of ways, the same kind of principles, the same kind of methods to deal with multiple different kinds of customers. It's pretty easier said than done that, well, customers are going to be liking this product because it has got feature A, B, C, or characteristics 1, 2, 3, or traits like A1, B1, C1. But the fact is, each customer is going to be really coming up with his own set of evaluative criteria to really try to understand what the product can potentially offer to me. I'll give you a pretty silly example. Let's say a group of people go and observe or go and see or kind of a movie. What is the product that they're really seeing? They're seeing an entertainment product, a movie. If you ask all these 10 people when they return from the theater and ask them, what did you like about the movie, or what did you really not like about the movie, there will be probably 10 different kind of answers. Someone is going to tell you, look, I like the fighting part of it. Someone is going to tell I like the drama part of it. Someone might be interested in the song and dance sequence of it. Someone might be really interested in the kind of sentiments that was really being displayed in the movie. A lot of different kind of interpretations might be coming from different kind of people. Imagine if a single movie can be interpreted in 10 different ways by 10 different people, the product, which is already a tangible, fixed kind of a product, is going to be interpreted by different people in totally different kind of ways. Particularly in pharmaceutical industry, a particular drug, a particular medicine might be effective for someone, far more effective than it is going to be effective with someone else. So products are different, customers are different. The interpretation of product by the customers is going to be different, and the salesperson is going to be facing the challenge of trying to convince a very difficult customer, although he has really got the appreciation for the same product and for the same service from a different kind of customer just maybe few minutes back. So every customer brings forward a set of challenge which is totally new, totally unexpected, and totally unique, because each customer is going to be completely diametrically different from someone else. Now let's understand how exactly you really go about the business of going for the sales control system. You go by sales audit, you go by sales analysis, you go by sales monitoring using automated dashboards, you go by expense control, or you can go by evaluation for identifying developmental needs of salespeople. Let's try to understand each one of them one by one. Now, what you do in the sales control system, first is you go for sales audit. You are trying to find out how many people, not really going by the mere numbers of it. Please mark my words, you are not going to be doing a sales audit purely based on the numerical figures. You are going to be really trying to find out whether there has been a kind of a hike in the number of people that really have been made happy, the number of people who have really purchased your product this year compared to the last 5 years. what has been the growth pattern like, what has been the falling pattern like, what really is happening. And this is not simply going to be a 5% kind of a jump in comparison to the last year data, or 10.2% kind of a rise in terms of comparing it with 3 years past data and all. This doesn't really tell you the whole story. You have got to really try to study what is not really being going to be shown to you as an obvious thing. So you are going to be really trying to understand the pattern that is on display, or you have to really, as they say in English, you have to really try and read between the lines. Now, what you really want to find out is that, well, numbers do not always tell you the complete whole story. You have to really try to find out which territory has got more growth, which territory has got less growth, which territory has gone for the maximum possible kind of a growth, and which territory has really shown a growth, but in comparison to other territory, it has gone for a lesser kind of a growth, and which territory has gone for a negative growth as well. So you just imagine the kind of different ways in which the figures or the data is really going to be, kind of showcasing themselves. It all depends on how well you are going to be interpreting things. Imagine that in one particular territory, let's say one state of, let's say, Odisha, and in the state of Odisha, the figure that has really that was really there last year, and the figure that is here in the current year, there has been a 10% growth, whereas the national average is, let's say, 25% growth. So if you take pride in the fact that, well, Odisha as a state has really shown a growth, but you really feel excited about it because this particular state has really shown a growth, which is a good news for you, obviously. But if you try to, the moment you try to compare it with the national average, then you feel really pretty horrified about, well, you have really sacrificed around 2.5 times of more growth in national average, whereas you are really feeling excited about just achieving 10% kind of a growth. But if you really try to contrast this with another state, let's say Haryana, and there it is, let's say, -7% growth. If you compare Odisha with Haryana, you feel really pretty excited. Well, that state is having -7% negative growth, and my state is having +10% positive growth. So it all depends on what audit you are going to be doing to really try to reach a conclusion. Now let us understand the importance of sales analysis. Like I said just now, you are trying to really take even the state-wise data, the district-wise data, the zonal data and all, that is understandable. But when you really try to bring it down to specific product or groups of products, now let's say you have got 32 products, and out of that 32 products, the similar kind of products, like let's say that are being clubbed into 5 or 6, and you've got 5 or 6 different category of product, as they say, product categories. Now you see one particular product category versus another particular product category. Contrast this with a scenario where you are comparing one product against another product in the same category. That tells you a pretty nice, interesting story. If you compare one product with another product in the same product category, and you have seen one product going for a massive growth, whereas this particular product is absolutely having a very nominal kind of a growth. So as a category, this has really grown. But if you really try to take stock of each and every individual product, you might be surprised that one product is having a real clear-cut phenomenal growth, whereas the other product, although has got growth, but it is very minimum. Now that minimum growth is really affecting the total outcome of the entire product category's growth. Is that really going to be a pretty healthy kind of reason for you to celebrate? Probably no. Why? Because your one particular product is absolutely performing like a star product, whereas the other product is performing just like an average ordinary kind of a product. 3% growth with one particular product, which is the least performing, and 37% is growth in the product of the product category in another kind of a place. That is absolutely understandable that 37 and 3, there is a huge difference. It's almost more than 12 times. So how do you really try to understand that all my products are not really having an uniform growth? Is it really a reason to celebrate? Again, the answer is no. Why? Because I expect that, well, I don't want that there should be one product which should really have 37% growth, and the other product should really be having a sluggish growth of 3%. That is not acceptable. I would rather be, finding myself in a position and celebrate where all my products are having, around 15 to 20% kind of rate of growth per annum. That's more like, every product has got a very strong chance of being accepted by the customers, and every product really stands a chance of really experiencing maximum growth possible. That is a more logical, acceptable, situation to really think of in pride and joy than one particular product absolutely overshadowing the presence of other products in the entire product category. That is one part of the way in which sales analysis can be done. The other part can be territory versus territory. Like, let's say if you break the whole state of Odisha into 5 different zones, east, west, north, south, and central, and compare each zone's performance with another zone in the last 5 years kind of time period, and you suddenly realize that one specific zone is absolutely having a spectacular growth, whereas there is another kind of a zone which is having a kind of sluggish growth or a negative growth sometimes, or even if it is having positive growth, it is very less. How do you really tackle these kind of situations? This is what really can be done through sales analysis. You can't say, look, my growth in India is this much, and you really feel pretty happy about it. Maybe out of so many different states, 70% of the states are really having very little amount of growth, whereas 30% of states are really outperforming the non-performance of these 70% kind of states. So excessive growth in 30% of the territories and very minimal growth in 70% of the territories, although compensating each other for the lack of growth, for the more of growth and all, but end of the day, you should really not feel happy that I have got a totally skewed kind of a growth in one particular kind of group of territories, group of states, and another kind of group of states is having a very negative or a sluggish or a very small amount of rate of growth. That is what really can be understood from sales analysis only. You can go for expense control. Expense control means you are trying to really cut down on your budget for compensating your sales force, or managing their expenses. You might be really feeling happy that there is no uniform way in which the sales force compensation is really being managed by all possible kind of companies across industries, across geographies, across product categories. This is not been done. This has never been done. So when you go for that, expense control, you have got to understand that, well, if you are not able to generate this amount of revenue from this particular kind of a territory, I might be compelled to really try to bring your expenses down to this. And in general, like I was telling probably in one of my sessions, in general, we expect that a salesperson should really be spending 1/10 of what is really generating. That is maybe old-fashioned, maybe archaic, but the fact is, if you are earning whatever you are earning and you are not generating 10 times that of your earning, then you are just a big burden on the company, because company expects that you are in a position to generate more wealth, and automatically you will get a sizable chunk of it. Now, what is the objective of sales evaluation? Why this sales evaluation is being done? I think the basic objective is to improve performance. Now, what do you understand by performance? Performance in pure, simple, uncomplicated language is when you are trying to be able to sell more, generate more customers, have impact in the market, and try to outperform your best competitor in the market. That is what you really understand when you really talk about improving your own performance. So performance is not simply trying to be able to touch to more number of customers, or trying to be able to generate more amount of revenue, or trying to really be successful in generating more amount of profit and all. That is not a performance. Performance is how exactly have you really been able to portray your company's image and your company's credibility and your company's integrity and the products and its benefit and why the product should be liked and all to your customers. That in totality constitutes your performance. It cannot be simply isolated and told, look, by performance I mean the rise in numbers. Well, rise in numbers is one part of the big story, but there are other more important factors which are part of your performance evaluation. Sales team's understanding for efficient control system. You have got to understand that the sales team are the people who are going to be much more closer to the customer. They are in fact very much close to the customer, because that is the point of contact. That is the moment when the moment of truth really takes place. Now, what is that? The customer is now face to face with you. You are the representative or the kind of face of the face of the company or face of the organization, and the customer is going to go back with either a positive or a negative or a neutral feeling, depending on how well you have been able to interact with the customer. So, like I told you few sessions back, if you are a happy salesperson or if you are a happy employee, then only you are really going to be able to create a happy customer. And making you happy is the job of your company. Now, if you understand what are the reasons for which performance evaluations need to be done, I think there are three reasons to my mind. One is you obtain appraisal of a salesperson's performance. You go for an appraisal, like what he has done and where he's really strong at, where he's not so strong at, what are his gray areas, where he should really try to be working more on and all. These are the ways in which the appraisal needs to be done. Once the appraisal is being done, now you have got to really figure out, well, what can be the sales plan to increase performance. Now, what is your sales plan to increase performance? If you identify that there is a scope for hiking your results or hiking your numbers or enhancing your performance, then you are going to be designing a sales plan to do it. Like I told you, planning to fail, failing to plan. If you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. I think more of the sales activities are becoming successful because of the planning behind it, not because someone more aggressive has really gone into the market to really try to create a customer out of nothing at all. There is a lot of immaculate planning that really goes into making of a success of a sales call. And the third thing that I really want to emphasize on is you have got to motivate your salespeople to improve performance. I think we already have a discussion regarding how to motivate your salespeople and all, what motivates them and all. Like I talked about financial and non-financial benefit, trying to identify what works with whom. There cannot be one blanket kind of an approach for all kinds of salespeople. You have got to be pretty choosy regarding what is really going to be triggering that positive emotion in someone else's mind. How do you really try to train your own people and try to inspire them to really try and do better than what they have really been doing for for far too long. Now that is what you can do to evaluate the performance of your salespeople. What are performance criteria basis for evaluation? It can be either quantitative or qualitative. Quantitative is, well, as you know, it is pure numbers. Numbers cannot lie. Numbers speak. The way the salesperson has really been able to portray his performance. Like you can go for sales volume, you can go for market share, you can go for how many new customers have been created. These can really be represented in numbers. But like I said, sometimes numbers do not tell the whole story. And you as an organization should really not get blinded by the fact that more the numbers, the more effective the salesperson is. Maybe, may not be. Maybe it is obvious, because the salesperson has really gone for more acquisition of customers. He has been more aggressive. He has been able to create good kind of rapport with the customers, good kind of bonding with the customers. That is understandable. He has got a knack of really trying to make friends out of strangers and all. These are good kind of things which really gets reflected in new customer acquisition. But is that all to sales? The answer to that is a no. You can even go and try to understand whether your sales volume has gone up or not. Of course, you can really interpret from this. If the sales volume has gone up, that means we have been able to generate more number of customers, or we have been able to really create a repeat customers, or we have been able to sell multiple products to the same kind of customers. Either way, this is going to be an enhancement of your sales volume. That is okay. That is understandable. That you are being aggressive, you are being positive, you are really being able to seize the opportunity and try to really generate more sales and all. These are all kind of fine, nice kind of numbers. Okay, but the real taste of a salesperson is not really restricted to the numbers game. I say this with all the emphasis that I do have in my command. When I say that your sales numbers, your volumes, your new customers, your market share, that is going to be telling you the 50% of the story. The rest 50%, which is more crucial nowadays, is trying to evaluate the sales people on the basis of qualitative criteria. Now, what is that qualitative criteria? It can be sales skills, it can be customer relationships, it can be self-organization, It can be product knowledge, it can be cooperation, and it can be your own attitude as a salesperson. Just give me 10 seconds. Now you might be wondering, well, whether I should go for qualitative performance criteria or I should go for quantitative performance criteria. The answer to that is that you are not really going to be choosing and picking between the two. You have to go with both. Go with quantitative and go with qualitative as well. So when you go with quantitative, I mean, you are simply going to be following one-dimensional kind of an approach. That more the number, more effective the salesperson is. Pretty simple. He has generated more sales volume. He's a better salesperson than someone who has not been able to generate more sales volume. Simple here. Market share. My market share was, let's say, 13% the last year. And with the impact that the salesperson has been able to create in the market, that 13% has really got into something like 14.5 or 15%. So that is a 1.5 kind of a stuff. Okay. So that is again a kind of indication in numbers. It can be number of new customers, like you had a base of, let's say, 1,30,299. Now this has really gone up to 1,40,299. So that is acquisition of more new customers. And why new customer I am really emphasizing is that because old customers, if they stay with you, that is fine. If they really become a loyal customer, that is even far better than any other kind of scenario. But the real test is when you are able to convince new customers to become your customers or not. When they become your customers, that means you are spreading the good positive word about you, your company, your product, everything to new customers who are getting added to the kind of the entire package, because your company as a whole entity, your product as a kind of solution for the problems that the customers have, and you as a salesperson have really been impacting the lives of more customers. That's why more customers are willing to come and join your kind of bandwagon. Now let us focus on the qualitative performance criteria like sales skills. Imagine that you are at your peak of your career and you are going to be showing a kind of very immaculate precision kind of a sales skill, where you are going to be closing sales in flat in 5 to 7 kind of minutes, and you are very good in really trying to maintain good relationship with customers. You really address each and every customer by their first name. You remember their names, you remember their date of birth, you remember their marriage anniversaries, you wish them on that particular day. You try to maintain a very cordial, positive, vibrant relationship with all customers around the year. If you do that, then probably if a customer is not really becoming your customer now, there is a very good chance that he might just as well really not be able to say no to you and become a customer tomorrow morning. So I think more than just generating sales volume, if you can really demonstrate that positive sales skill, where it is really going to be a kind of be all and end all of it, and you are going to maintain a good relationship with the customers, then probably half of your battle is already won. Because a happy, satisfied, delighted customer is really going to be speaking to other people regarding why this product, this service, this particular gentleman, the salesperson, and the company is really good enough. So product knowledge is again another kind of a qualitative performance criteria. Whether you have got all the answers to all the questions that can possibly be posed by the customer. If you understand the product inside out, if you know more about the product than anyone else in your own kind of rank and file, then probably if there is a difficult customer, people are always going to be turning up to you, because you know the product, you know the products, detailing and all, and you have got all the answers to all the demanding queries by a demanding customer. So you are going to be demonstrating that particular kind of a qualitative criteria that is better than just focusing on generating more sales mindlessly. Cooperation and your own attitude. Cooperation with the customers, thinking and feeling and sensing and behaving the way the customer is expected to be really doing with you. That is going to be going a long way in really trying to be seizing that deal with the customer, because now the customer understands that this gentleman is not out there just to sell me or trick me into selling. He is really trying to understand what are my real genuine requirements. Do I really need this product now, or can I really defer it to somebody else? For example, if you go to a customer and try and tell him, look, this is the holiday package that I am selling, and you can go to a pretty cold country and escape from the summer over here, and you are trying to suggest him to really escape during the winter. He can smell that this man is not really interested whether I should really escape in the summer or I should just go and buy his kind of tourism package. Okay, now if you feel, look, please don't buy it now, you can really try and take that decision towards March and April, or May and June. That is a much better time to really go and travel to this particular kind of a place. This one small nice personal gesture is really going to be creating that good positive vibe with your customer. He might just as well get more triggered to feel that, well, here is a person who is not out there to just make me a kind of scapegoat of a customer, rather he's really trying to make me understand the real judicious advice which is really going to be good for me, not good for the person who's trying to sell it to me. So when you're trying to really make a customer feel or make a customer get the respect of yours, because you are not really going to be treating him like an idiot. He is a sensible, sensitive human being who understands what is being told to him and why it is being told to him. If he senses that the person who is telling me has got only own interest to try and solve, then he might just run away from you. Now let us understand the types of evaluation criteria in detail. Like for example, we talk about quantitative measures, where you talk about quantitative measures like output measures for individual salespeople. Sales revenue achieved. This is again, I let me remind you that we are talking about quantitative measures to evaluate the performance of a salesperson. The number one thing that really strikes my head is, well, sales revenue achieved. What is the revenue that you have been able to generate? It's like, you are not really going to be understanding whether you have really generated from the new customers or from the old customers, have generated from all 32 products, or only have focused on 10 products. Have you really generated in territory A or territory B? That is not my concern. My only concern and my biggest concern is, have you been able to generate sales revenue or not? If you have not, then I don't really care to listen to you any longer. Profits generated. Did you sell it in a profitable way, or you are just selling it for the sake of you trying to generate sales? I can really be pretty serious in trying to make a distinction regarding the profits being generated and the sales revenues being achieved. Sometimes more smart, kind of salespersons, they really sacrifice the profit orientation of the company and go for generating more volume of sales or generating more kind of revenue sales. Why do they do it? Because they know that there is a target, there is that sword, so-called Damocles sword, hanging on their head, and that sword is going to be understanding the language of only one thing, that of whether you have been able to, kind of enhance the sales volume or not. So the third thing that I want to focus on is percentage gross profit margin achieved. Well, have you really been focusing on sales? Or have you really been focusing on the volume? Or have you really been focusing on the profit? Or have you really been focusing on the more important thing, the percentage gross profit margin? Well, how many units you have been able to sell? How much revenue you have been able to generate versus what is the profit percentage of it, not the total profit. I'm not interested in the profit. I'm not interested in the total profit. I'm not really trying to, be happy that, well, last year my profit was 1200 crores. This year the profit has really gone up from 1200 to 1240. That is just about 40 crores of extra profit that I have made in this particular current year. I'm not interested in that. What exactly I have really incurred or what expenses I have made to really try to generate that 40 crores extra profit. If I have really spent more compared to what I should really have been ideally spending, then I should not really be feeling pretty excited about it. For example, to generate that 40 crores extra kind of money, you have really spent a very hefty amount, like 10 to 15 crores. in advertisement, in promotions, in trade commissions, in all this kind of benefit that you're supposed to be giving to the trade partners and everyone. Now you understand that, well, it's not worth it. I have really been able to generate only 40 crores, whereas I have already spent around 15 to 20 crores, which is more than 50% of it. Now, are you really going to be taking the number in isolation and feel happy? If you are stupid, you'll do it. If you are smart enough, you will understand that, look, I cannot expect that more than 50% of the money has to be spent first to be able to generate profit later. That is not an ideal situation for me. Now, the other method to understand is like, sales for potential accounts. If I take you through the example of a bank where you are really going to be trying to understand, well, how many customers I do have. If your particular branch is having, let's say, 10,750 number of customers, and out of these 10,750, there are only 10,000 number of customers who are really very active. The rest, they're not really active. That might be sounding pretty good, but the fact is, if you really go to an ordinary branch of an ordinary bank, and you will understand that more than 50 to 60% of customers really have a pretty ideal kind of an account. They have just opened the account because someone has really knocked at the door and really told them, look, you have got to open an account because your father is my uncle's friend, or you are my friend, or whatever. You have just opened the account without really understanding that I have got to really go for the average quarterly balance. Now, when you really have already opened it and you are not really going for a pretty smooth transaction through this particular account, this really is going to be a burden on the bank, them becoming a good number to be really counted about. Now, what you need to understand is that sales for potential account is a very good way to really try to understand whether all my accounts are in conjunction with what I have really felt in the beginning, or they're just part of that silly number. Now, the most crucial thing I think for me is whether you have been able to generate more sales for active account or not. Now, what is an active account? Like I told you, let's say as a bank, as a branch, you have got 10,750 customers. Out of that, let's say 30% is only active, and the rest 70% are not active. Now, how much sales you are able to generate for active accounts? That is again another criteria in which you can really evaluate the performance. Now, what are the ratio that is available for analysis? You can really go for conversion or strike rate. How many customers you have made? How many customers you have been able to create out of that? That is a good way to try to understand. Well, if you really go and tell a salesperson, look, how many customers you have made today, he will really give a very good exaggerated number. Look, I have really made 120 customers in a given day. You'll be shocked. Come on, yeah, this man is so much putting effort for meeting 120 customers in a given day. Maybe he's working more than 10 hours or more than 12 hours. But if you really try to take the next step and try to understand whether he has been able to really converse the people or not, or he has really been able to convert the people into customers or not. That is one hell lot of a way of understanding. Well, is this the right way to really go about the business of selling your product or not? Is what your salesperson is doing to generate sales the right way or not? You have got to try and take a call. Sales revenue per call ratio, profit per call ratio. These are very important yardsticks, criteria you can say, by which you can really understand whether you are really doing the proper sales, kind of analysis for your organization or not. For example, if I really stick to the sales revenue per call ratio, what it tells you that you are making, let's say, 30 calls in a day, and out of 30 calls, everyone is really refusing to buy your product, or everyone is really going to be not really ready to listen to your pitches and all. Now, what does that mean? That means your sales revenue per call ratio is going very aggressively down, which is not a healthy way to really try to run your business. Profit per call ratio. How many calls you have made and how many customers have really been acquired by you, and what kind of profit that they're ready to generate for you or for your organization. Diagnostic measures for analyzing individual salespersons or product lines. Like I told you, maybe 10 to 15 minutes back, you are going to be really analyzing individual salesperson's performance and try to compare A with B, with C, with Y and Z, and really try to figure out who is the smartest, who is really performing the highest and all. Okay, that is one way. Or you can try to compare the product lines. Like for example, if one salesperson is handling, let's say, 10 products, and out of 10, he has been completely obsessed with 1, 2, and 7, and has really ignored 3, 4, and 6, and just giving minimum possible attention to the rest of the products which already have a good kind of market response, good kind of market acceptance so far. Now this is a pretty random way of really trying to focusing on your entire 10 product lines. Now what you need to do is you have got to really give equal focus or even more focus on products which are not really going to be quickly getting out of your self space. Now what does that really mean? That means that you are going to be giving equal attention to all the salesperson that you have really appointed across territories, and you are again going to be giving equal attention to all the products that is really out there to be sold. Now let us focus on the qualitative measures like subjective assessments based on observation or perception. Assessment dimensions can be sales skills, we talked about it, customer relationships, we already have a discussion, self-organization, how you really get organized, whether you are really going to be approaching the right customer at the right time or not. For example, if you are going to be approaching a banker who is rushing to the bank at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you give him a cold call and try to pitch him for your tourism package and all, he's really going to be feeling, well, this is no time to really talk to me because I am absolutely in a tearing hurry. Now you have got to really understand that. And of course, you have got to have that product knowledge, cooperation and attitude, like whatever we have already discussed. We can try to really appreciate that there might be some issues in sales performance evaluation system. Well, nothing is foolproof, as they say, but let us understand in specific what are probably the issues that can really take place in sales performance evaluation system. Evaluation based on qualitative versus quantitative data. Are you really going to be judging a salesperson because of his recent kind of outcomes, or you are really going to be kind of closing your eyes to recent non-performance and try to appreciate him because of what he has already achieved in the last 10 years? Quantitative and qualitative, there is always going to be a huge debate regarding which method is a better method. Of course, if you are really going to be a no-nonsense manager, then you are simply not going to be kind of paralyzed by the thought of being partisan. Now what you need to do is you have got to really tell yourself one fact, that I will not really try to see somebody's face and get affected by that positively or negatively. Rather, I would see whether the numbers are really more or less. If someone is really going to be coming up with more numbers, I will go by that person, whether he has really been able to do justice to all product lines, all customers, all kind of territories being touched, whatever. But I will simply ignore everything else and just try and be focused on the numbers game. That's it. So person to person comparisons and varying conditions can be another reason. Problem of determining standards of performance. Now what exactly is going to be comprising the standards of performance? On a rainy day, there is a salesperson who has not really gone out of his house, but have really made calls to 20 people and have really been able to convert out of 25. Whereas on a rainy day, there is another salesperson who has really driven his car, let's say 170 kilometers, taken all the pain, touched 20 customers, who was not really able to convert anyone. So if you really go by the logic of, has he left home and got into the field? Yes. Has he really been able to generate sales? No. The first person, has he really left the house to go to the market physically? No. Has he really been able to convert customers into, convert your prospects into real customers? Yes. So who is a better salesperson? The person who has really gone out in the rain of it and have really braved it and is really going to come back and complain, look, while the other man was really having the luxury at his own home and sitting at his own comfort places, I was the one who was really struggling in the field. So I should be really given more importance than the guy who has just sat at home and just kind of made some cold calls and has really been able to convert customers. So it is up to you as an organization to really try and take a final call on who is more important for you. Someone who has really sweated it out, or or someone who has been very smart enough to really generate revenue for you or bring sales for you. It is for you to really take a call. Periodicity of evaluation and its impact. how periodically you really evaluate the performance of people, and what is the impact of it. That is pretty interesting. Accounting system or database limitations for evaluation. Well, sometimes numbers can really be not telling the whole truth. Now let us understand setting performance norms and comparisons. Quota setting, like performance targets. This is the real way in which organizations really evaluate their people. Give me some seconds. So mix of quantitative and qualitative standards is crucial. You can't really always go by the numbers game and always cannot really go and say, look, this is the amount of pressure that he has taken or the amount of sweating that he has done and all. It is not always really going to be telling the truth. It also reflects companies' analysis of market situation compared to competitors. Sales quotas as quantitative targets for salespeople. You are always going to be giving some kind of numbers to achieve, and the salesperson should really always get guided by the number game. I mean, he has got to chase a number. I mean, you can't always be telling the person that, look, I understand that you are a hardworking, genuinely concerned kind of a salesperson, but I'm not really getting the result out of you. So you are still good. No, you can't be still good. There has to be a point where all this relationship building, all these cold calls, all this kind of good humor and all should really be getting converted into real numbers. Valid sales forecasts enhance the effectiveness of quotas. Sales forecast has to be done, and it has to be done in valid way, because generally we are going to be exaggerating the kind of expectation that we are having from our own salespeople, which is not really going to be working in our favor always. Profit margins, I mean, like gross margin or net profit ratios, that should be considered. Per call, sales call, whatever whatever amount that I am able to generate, that's important as well. Sales expense ratio controls expenses related to sales volume. What you sell, how much you sell, and what expenses you incur to generate that kind of a sale. If you spend more to really get less kind of return, then you are simply burning the kind of your finances and all. Sales coverage effectiveness index measures thoroughness in territory coverage. That's pretty interesting. Sales coverage effectiveness index. Now, have I really been able to coverage the entire territory in its entirety or not? Have I really been able to really go and check with all possible kind of customers or not? Did I touch almost everyone's life while really going for a sales call or not? Was I really able to generate more kind of cold calling opportunities during my interaction with strangers and all? Call frequency ratio, calls per day and average cost per call as performance standards. Now, what is the call frequency ratio? How frequently are you going to be telling your customers regarding who you are, what you represent, what you want to sell, and all this stuff. People who are now kind of listening to these cold calls, they might be listening the frequency of calls for every kind of product, whatever. Maybe starting from a car showroom fellow trying to really give you a call to bring your car to their garage and try to get it kind of maintained and all. That is going to be really done more frequently. Whereas you may not expect that a pharmaceutical company is really going to be giving you a cold call. Well, these are my range of medicines, please come and buy it from the counter. That doesn't really happen. It all depends on which kind of interest that you are really trying to talk about. Now let's go for a comparison, like actual versus budgeted. Crucial step in the evaluation process is this: what is your actual kind of target, and what is your budgeted kind of thing. You are going to be finding it very challenging in applying the same standards to all salespeople due to varying territories. For example, if you are an Indian and you feel that the amount of prosperity that really is with states in the western zone and the amount of prosperity that you see in the states in the eastern zone, there is a kind of a gap. I mean, the gap is visible that western states are more rich compared to eastern kind of states in India. Now, if a salesperson is really deployed in a eastern zone or eastern kind of a state, eastern part of the state, and there is another guy who's really posted in the western part of it, probably you are really trying to be comparing an orange with an apple. I mean, you cannot really reach a justified conclusion. Look, The Western guy is really performing better than the Eastern guy, so the Eastern fellow is really worse than the Western guy, or the Western guy is really better than the Eastern guy. This is not the case. The Eastern fellow is really operating in a scenario where the purchasing ability of the people that he is going to dealing with is relatively less in comparison to the people who are really staying, down west. So you cannot really try to, kind of compare different kind of salespeople who working in different kind of territories. Sales personality variations and varying results on quantitative and qualitative criteria. What kind of salesperson that you are employing in your own organization? Are they really aggressive go-getters, or they're very passive and very slow and very steady kind of people? People who have got this kind of skewed perception that, well, in order to be successful in sales, you have to be always a dynamic, dashing, go-getter, kind of a person. May not be always true. You can be pretty contented, pretty much kind of at leisure, very cool kind of a guy, but you understand the consumer psychology more than the aggressive go-getter kind of a guy understands. So it is all about having a different kind of style to really try to bring in your customers. Evaluation requires discretion and consideration of territory potential and individual salesperson contributions. Like I told you, territory has got its own potential, and you have got to really take that into account when you are trying to be evaluating the performance of your own salespeople. Now let us understand the salespeople monitoring and supervision part of it. In monitoring system, we talk about supervision of salespeople through periodic reporting or field meetings. That is what is really being done. I mean, as a boss or as a manager or as a superior, you have got to go and get along with your people, the salespeople that you are going to be having as a team. Try to talk to them and talk to them in the field itself. Regular tracking of Salesforce activities through a formal feedback system. What exactly are you doing and how well you are really doing it and all. The feedback system has got to be there. Sales reports as primary tools for monitoring and analyzing sales activities. You can have a daily field report or a daily sales report, DSR or DFR. People jokingly say that this might be a daily false report, but I think that false reporting days are gone, finished. Now you are going to be making yourself accountable for each and every call that you make, because someone really sitting at the office might be just regulating your activities, regulating your movements and all. He might be really seeing you really visiting person A sitting in place Y. That really leaves no scope for not being monitored, not being analyzed. So you are going to be getting insights from sales reports, which can be used for coaching and counseling Salesforce. I mean, if you find that there is a salesperson who has been very religiously trying to talk to people and talk to many number of people, but there is no such thing as a good positive result. So that means he requires more kind of motivation, more kind of tricks of the trade, more kind of understanding of the human psychology and all. So that really leaves you with a lot of scope to really try to come up with your own coaching and counseling kind of activities and all. Now, what is the objective of supervision and reporting system? You are trying to keep your sales manager informed about your sales activities. That is a must. You are going to be providing data for evaluating performance. You are going to be detecting deviations and take timely remedial action. You are again going to be assisting your salesperson in planning work and record consumer feedback. And you are also going to be building a rich database of territorial information. Now, importance of sales reports. Why sales reports are being given so much importance in sales? Sales reports align goals of sales team and company. You are not really going to find your own suitable, typical way of really trying to do your own work in your own kind of a way at all, which is really going to be contradicting that the goal of the company. It has got to really find a proper alignment. It also increases transparency, accountability, teamwork, and collaboration, improves accuracy in sales revenue forecast and goal setting. Now, what are the types of sales reports? Sales for salesman, for dealer, for product can be one. It's pretty interesting. Expense to salesman ratio, calls per day, order call ratio, this can be another. Sales reporting helps in routine activities and day-to-day control over sales reports that we have already understood. Essential components of sales reports are like your progress reports, can be expense reports, can be work plans, can be lost business reports, can be complaint reports. Every report has got its own kind of benefit. because if you are going to be talking about complaint reports, then now probably you are really going to be gearing up your own, kind of help desk to really try to, manage or solve multiple issues that might be raised by your, irritating customers. Weekly sales report can be one which you are going to be getting in per week. Let's understand what we have really read so far or kind of discussed so far. Importance of evaluating and monitoring salespeople, we have already discussed. Performance evaluation compares actual sales performance with the budgeted one. Salespeople's performance evaluation is complex due to various activities and different selling situations. Evaluation program aims to make salespeople more valuable to the company. These are the things that we have understood so far, and hopefully we are also going to be able to appreciate the fact that the elements of evaluation program that includes studying the salesperson, analyzing the selling records, and planning development functions are also going to be done. Sales reporting is another crucial criteria for understanding what really is exactly going on. Sales reporting involves sharing performance data for analysis and corrective action, and companies set performance standards based on quantitative and qualitative criteria for sales evaluation. That's all from my side for this session today. Thank you for being so active listeners. I understand the sales evaluation topic that we discussed must have really gone well with all of you. Thank you. Thank you so much.